She caught the angry glint in the man's pale eyes before the men made the switch. She tried to tell them about the mistake they were making, but before she could get out more than a word and a breath, the broken-nosed man covered her mouth roughly with his bloody glove. She gagged at the smell and feel of the warm, sticky liquid on her lips. But it was the look in his eyes that sent her heart rate off the charts. He would kill her if he got the chance. Panic had her inhaling sharply through her nose as she watched in growing terror as the first man pulled a syringe from his coat pocket. She fought with all the strength she had left in her, but even as she did, she knew it was useless. She stood no chance against 3 men. She felt him jab the needle into her neck as she continued to fight until her body went limp. As she lay like a rag doll, helpless on the bed, she heard a sound that turned her blood to ice. Someone was tearing duct tape into strips. Chapter 2. Franklin Davenport had let the staff go for the night. He poured himself a drink even though he should have gone to bed hours ago. His estate on Whitefish Lake was blissfully quiet, just the way he liked it. Friends thought he had to be lonely after his wife's death all those years ago, but he'd had his granddaughter living with him until recently. He'd been sad to see Geneva go, but she'd wanted a house of her own. For a while, she'd taken the drama with her. At 65, he felt he deserved a quiet life after spending years accumulating his fortune. But with Geneva, there was always something. Recently, it had been money. She wanted more. He wanted her to do something with her life. Anything. He had cut her allowance and canceled her credit cards. You would think he'd beaten her the way she went on about it. Now the 22-year-old wasn't speaking to him. It was a nice reprieve, even though he knew it wouldn't last. He should feel guilty. Geneva was all the family he had. But with her, it was always something, just like it had been with her mother. In the past few days, he'd been enjoying the peace and quiet, even though he knew it couldn't last. His landline rang. He glanced at the time, wondering who would be calling him at this hour. His associates knew to call only during business hours. He let it ring, feeling only a little guilty. Geneva knew better than to call this late. The landline quit ringing. He had a moment of silence before his cell phone started in. With a silent curse, he put down his drink and pulled out his cell. Only a very few people had his cell phone number. His granddaughter was one of them. He glanced at the screen. Geneva. He swore and let it ring yet again. What kind of trouble could she be in now? The last time she'd gotten arrested, she tried the landline first and then his cell. But this time he suspected it would be another plea for money. She always made him feel guilty.
"It isn't like you can't afford it," she would say.
"Yes, I've worked hard my whole life for this money."
She would roll her eyes and say, "And you'll never be able to spend it all. I'm your only family. What is the point? Besides, one day I will have it all anyway."
"Unless I decide to leave it all to charity," he would threaten, and watch her pale in horror before he would give in and agree to buy her whatever it was she wanted. He wasn't in the mood now for another tearful discussion about his decision to cut her allowance, especially at this time of the night. He should have done it the moment she dropped out of college. He should have done a lot of things differently when it came to her. He'd made mistakes with her mother, and now he felt as if history was repeating itself. The phone quit ringing. He was ashamed of how glad he was that he hadn't taken the call. He hadn't talked to Geneva in almost a week. They hadn't just argued about money. His granddaughter had terrible taste in companions. He often thought she couldn't make a good decision if her life depended on it, but this latest boyfriend was the worst she'd brought home yet. He started to raise his glass to his lips when his cell phone began clamoring again, and he began to worry. Maybe something really was wrong. He would never forgive himself if she was in real trouble and he'd refuse to answer the call. Even before he touched the screen on his cell phone to accept the call, he knew this was going to ruin his evening.
"Franklin Davenport!"
The unearthly, electronically altered voice made his pulse spike. He didn't remember saying yes, but he must have said something because the voice continued.
"We have your granddaughter. If you go to the authorities, we will kill her. Get 10